Releasing the dogs. After years of campaigning and months of negotiations, Ridglan has just signed a deal to release the Beagles at their animal testing and breeding facility to rescues ready to place them in loving homes. They're finally going to be free. Dog rescue organizations involved in this effort are getting ready to head to Wisconsin right now because we don't want these dogs to spend even one more day in a cage if we can help it. Thank you so much to everyone who made this possible, and to all of the animals suffering at other animal testing facilities across the United States and world. Know that we're coming for you next.
Well, I was about to intro my guest, Trey, and then I saw Zoe's video right before we started. I'm in shock. I am so excited. I want to bring you Trey from Animal Activism Collective. He actually helps people turn outrage from animal abuse into effective action. So this just happened. It's so crazy. I'm so excited. You're going to get Trey and I's real live reactions now. I'm Allison Melody, and that's next on Food Heals. This is the Food Heals podcast.
Warning, side effects of this podcast may include increased health and vitality, thoughts of living longer, developing a more positive outlook on life, feelings of joy, cravings for kale and quinoa, and a spike in Tinder matches.
Well, Trey, welcome to Food Heals. I'm so happy to have you. We have so much to discuss, but what's your first reaction? I can't believe it.
What a timely interview. I was getting ready for this interview, and probably 30 minutes ago at the time of recording this, I got a text that said the Ridglan dogs are going to be free. So I'm extremely excited. I was there at the first rescue and witnessed that. So I'm still processing it, probably just like you are.
I am processing. I feel like butterflies in my stomach. I feel shaky. I'm so excited. You know, you were at the first one and I was at the second one. So we both have these incredible experiences, but we walked away like, I'm so glad we raised awareness, but we still didn't get the dogs out. And so there's just been this ache on my heart every single day. Like, I got tear gas for this. Are you kidding me? These Beagles are still being tortured. So, you know, they're not out yet as of this recording, but I guess the plan is to release them. What news have you seen? I haven't read a lot. I just pulled up an article, but I'm assuming this is good news. Where are they going? What do we know?
I just read an article. I wrote some notes down from WKOW 27 News, Chad Thompson's article. It says that Big Dog Ranch Rescue and the Center for a Humane Economy say they've reached a confidential agreement with Ridglan Farms to take custody of the Beagles. So this is a separate coalition, I believe, from the original one that we're trying to free the dogs. So other people have stepped in, I guess, because they saw the news and, you know, all the activists that brought awareness to this, and they've stepped up, and it sounds like they've pretty much, for lack of a better term, bought out this farm.
I mean, that's so incredible. And I wonder, like, what's going on behind the scenes, because we know that Laura Trump made an offer of $1 million to take the dogs, and they said no. And behind the scenes, we were kind of doing the math like, well, wouldn't the dogs be worth less than that? So why wouldn't they take this deal? What could be their reasoning? And so I wonder what the difference is here. I have an article here. It says, Ridglan Farms appears to be selling nearly 1,000 of its Beagles to a rescue group, which seeks to offer them a new life, which sounds great, Trey, but we know there's 2,000. I wonder why they're only saying 1,000.
I think we're not totally sure how many dogs exactly are inside of Ridglan Farms. According to that article, Ridglan says, which I guess we can't really take their word all the time, but
no.
Ridglan says that this is the vast majority of their dogs. Now, I don't know what dogs may not be included in this. I don't think that's been released, or if it has, I haven't read about it.
Yeah, it's all brand new, Food Heals Nation. So we apologize. We don't have all of the information yet. I am so excited, though. I'm in shock, and I'm so excited. You know, you were at the first one. I was at the second one. I would love to hear a little bit about your experience. First of all, you are co-founder of Animal Activism Collective. This is what you do. I just was a silly volunteer that was like, I have to join this. But this is your work. So I'd love to hear about your work, how you get involved in these, and then your first experience, how that rescue went. Because you guys got dogs out, we didn't.
Well, I was just on the green team that day, and open rescue is not something that Animal Activism Collective typically does. I had never been part of an open rescue really to any degree at all. But it was just one of those moments where everybody needed to come together and provide what they could. My background is in media, and I went there and basically covered what was happening from public property, and tried to raise as much awareness about this rescue, the efforts, what the dogs were going through behind the scenes. That was basically the role that I played. I saw many of my friends and colleagues enter Ridglan Farms from, afar, and saw video footage afterwards of them just taking incredibly brave action, going into Ridglan Farms, putting their bodies on the line, putting, their legal situation on the line, risking arrest to go in and save these animals. It's really easy to forget for like a normal person, I guess, to forget just all the atrocities that are happening to animals all over the world all the time, every single second of every day. But these dogs were not forgotten. These people showed up for these dogs and took 22 of them to safety. Several of those dogs, as your viewers probably already know, were, taken back by police, and many were unfortunately left behind. But it sounds like hopefully the vast majority of those are getting out today. And by the time I knew that the actual rescue was happening that day, people were already there. So I was in the car driving there, watching the live stream, probably like everybody else. And then I sort of got there and saw the scene of, the van that had the tires slashed and the police officers and some giant truck. I'm still not sure what that truck was doing there. I don't know if the truck was there to move the dogs before the rescue that was supposed to be the next day or what. But yeah, and I was pretty bummed that I couldn't make it to the second rescue. But Panima, our wonderful executive director, as well as some other people from AAC, made it down there, and some other people from our coalition. We have a coalition with CAFT, which is Coalition to Abolish the Fur Trade, and ICAW, International Council for Animal Welfare, and some great people from those organizations showed up as well as many people from across the country, and I think some people from outside the country. So this is an issue that transcends, and I'm so happy that it's all coming to a head, and it sounds like a lot of the dogs are going to get out of there.
I've been envisioning this, and I wasn't sure if I was just being, because I tend to be a Pollyanna positivity person. And, I've been accused of not being in touch with reality because of my belief in positivity and the good in people. I never in a million years thought that we would be met with the violence that we were met with at the second action, at the second rescue. And I have been picturing that these dogs are going to be released due to the public pressure alone. So I think the first rescue raised so much awareness for then you're already in this world, Trey, so you already know what's going on. But then people like me and all kinds of people that I met there who were just like, I don't do this regularly. I'm not a part of a coalition or anything like that. I have my show, which is more about health, but of course health relates to animals and all of that. But I never in a million years imagined we'd be met with that violence. But that awareness was raised for then people like me to join so that we could get, I think 2,000 people signed up. And like what happened with you, Wayne likes to go in early. So we went in a day early, like you guys went in a day early. And so I guess there's an element of surprise there. But we had, I think they said around 1,000 people at this rescue. And I thought, Trey, they were just going to have to let the dogs out because the amount of people there. I never in a million years could have guessed that they would come at us with such violence, pushing people to the ground, tear gassing people, holding people down and pepper spraying them. I mean, it was abhorrent. I saw a guy get shot with rubber bullets, but I didn't know they were rubber bullets at the time. So I thought they were shooting people. It was terrifying. In your activism background and career, have you ever seen anything like this? I know you said you don't typically do open rescues. What is the difference in open rescues and other types of rescues? And have you seen this type of violence before?
I've never seen this type of violence directly, but I've been an activist long enough to expect this kind of thing at an action like that. I'm not I am surprised at the level of violence. I'm not surprised that, there was tear gas and pepper spray. Watching the man who breached the fence get, brutalized, that was pretty rough. I tend to expect that of police, but them doing that, knowing that there's like a million cameras on them, is sort of a different level, I think. I think that, you were mentioning that, I've been doing this for a long time, but, it's really the people who have never done anything like this before and decided, you know what, I'm willing to take these risks and go to this place and try to rescue these dogs. That was very inspiring for me. I've done countless protests on the street, and it always really inspires me when somebody, just joins the protest off the street, grabs a sign, says, what is this about? And they become outraged and immediately take action. But this rescue was like that times 1,000. And it was really just inspiring that people were willing to take that kind of action, that people did not give up on these dogs. Animal Activism Collective, we got countless messages, comments asking, how can I help these dogs? Can I adopt a dog? Can I show up? What can I do? I think my thumbs almost fell off from typing SaveTheDogs.io.
I know. Yes,
about 1 million times. Because people were everybody wanted to take action. So I was very inspired by that. Now, open rescues throughout history of animals have typically been of farmed animals, and these factory farms have a lot less security than Ridglan Farms does. And, often these open rescues happen unannounced. So, it's somewhat easy for somebody to walk onto a broiler chicken farm, for example, and grab a chicken, and probably, if you didn't advertise it, no one would probably even notice if you were able to skirt by the employees or whatever. But, this was a obviously highly publicized event. So it was a lot different. Maybe the cops felt like they had something to prove because of the first rescue. I'm not really sure.
I do feel that way. There was so much, I don't know what to say. What I witnessed was like ego involved with their actions instead of compassion. And, I heard that, and this may or may not be true, that some police officers decided to stay home that day because they couldn't be on the wrong side of this. And the ones that stayed were not compassionate, loving people. And I've always thought the police were on my side to protect me. And that day I felt like the police might kill me. And that's a scary feeling. So you've been vegan and active in animal rights since 2017. What was your moment? What woke you up to the issue? We're talking about dogs, but you're talking about farmed animals, all kinds of animals that are abused, whether it's for factory farming or in labs. What was it that made you decide this was something that you just had to act on and co-found this organization?
Yeah, it's kind of a long story. I'll try to breeze through it, but when I was about 19 years old, I was in a band, and a lot of the guys in that band were like pescatarians and vegetarians. And basically they peer pressured me into trying a veggie burger. But it really goes back further than that. Another guy that I played music with showed me a DVD. This was either before YouTube or, before YouTube's popularity. Showed me a DVD of a cow getting slaughtered, and it just affected me in a way that I can't describe. I am not somebody who throws up, but I wanted to throw up. I didn't really know how to proceed after that. I just went to McDonald's the next day because I didn't know where else to go. I grew up in a small town in the South, and we just ate meat every day. And, I didn't want to bite into the burger, but I was like telling myself, this is what you have to eat. You have to eat this to survive, and I took a bite of that burger, and I couldn't finish it. It was just, but slowly time went on, and I was able to get back to eating meat without feeling grossed out. But then, 4 years later or so, 3 or 4 years later, I was in that band, and these guys, told me to try this veggie burger, and I tried it, and I was like, okay, well, I had already had some concerns with my health. I wanted to lose weight and things like that. So I decided, I'll just try being a pescatarian. And then after eating that way for a little while, I quickly started to learn about the animal side of things.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kind of came for the health, but stayed for the animals. And then I read something on the bottom of that box of fish that I had been eating. My excuse for eating fish was they're caught out of their natural habitats. It's not like they're in a factory farm like these other animals. Obviously, my thoughts have progressed a lot since then, but it said farm raised on the bottom of the box. And I was like, a fish farm? I've never, I think of a farm, I think of a red barn somewhere on a, on a hill or something. But I looked up fish farms, and it was just some of the most horrific footage I'd ever seen. Fish that had half-eaten faces that were swimming around in their own feces. And, in that moment, I became, I guess you'd say, full vegetarian. And this is when I'm, I think, 20 years old. So it took me a long time after that to really realize what the cows in the dairy industry go through, and the bees in the honey industry, and the chickens in the egg industry, and so on and so forth go through. But once I came to that realization, I went vegan. And upon going vegan, I became an activist. I was already active in some other ways. And so I just kind of transitioned that all to be for the animals.
Yeah, I mean, I think my story is a little bit similar in terms of I went plant-based for my health first. And then I was like, when I learned about the animal component and the factory farming, then I was like, well, if I stop caring about my health one day, I'll still never go back, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. And I think what happens for a lot of us is like our brain gets rewired, and you looked at that burger and you're like, I can't do this. And when it clicks, sometimes you may waver and go back, but sometimes it clicks and you can never go back. And people say, oh, Allie, don't you miss this cheese? And I say, no, I have absolutely zero craving for it. Not only because of the connection I make to the food on my plate from the animal, but also because my health improved so much when I went plant-based. I mean, I don't know about you. I'd love to hear, like, what health benefits did you start to feel after transitioning, from to pescatarian to vegetarian and then to fully vegan?
Yeah, when I went vegetarian, that pescatarian phase was relatively short. So from the time I was a full-blown meat eater to the time that I became a vegetarian, I lost 35 pounds. It took me 7 or 8 years to go vegan. I gained a little bit of that weight back, but then when I went vegan, I lost another 35 pounds. So I think maybe total about 60 pounds or something from full-blown meat eater to vegan. And that was not really even eating healthy. That was eating like vegan junk food.
I mean, I love vegan junk food. I get it.
I kind of started with the pescatarian thing for health. I went vegan for the animals, but just naturally, this was a pleasant side effect that I lost weight, felt healthier, and all of that.
Yeah, it was the energy for me. It was when I gave up dairy, my face cleared up. I have not had a pimple since. Like, clear skin was the convincing factor for me health-wise. And then, of course, like I said, finding out about the dairy industry. The best video, if anyone wants to watch it, I'm sure you've seen it, Trey, is that YouTube video that went viral a few years ago called "Dairy is Scary."
Oh yeah, I remember.
Yeah, she breaks it down in like just a couple of minutes. And I think if you watch that, it's very, very hard to go back to what you're originally doing. And I make the best vegan cheese plate, because now there are so many delicious plant-based cheese alternatives that taste amazing. And I'll bring them to a party. I'll someone invites me to something and it's bring a dish. I'll bring the vegan cheese plate. I don't have to tell anyone it's vegan cream cheese and vegan slices and all of that. No one needs to know. And they're just like, oh my gosh, what is this? It's delicious. And I say, oh, it's made out of almonds. They say, what? And it opens a conversation, you know?
Dairy is what I was addicted to the most by far.
Yeah.
My friends jokingly called me a cheeseitarian, but it was pretty accurate because whatever I cut out in meat, I made up for in cheese, unfortunately.
I totally get that. So if someone was hearing about Animal Activism Collective for the first time, just tell us a little bit about exactly what is AAC and what do you help people do? I know you have mentorship, like people like me who had never participated in something like this before. This was my first one, and it was apparently one of the worst ones ever with the tear gas. But for someone like me who never participated before, but is dipping their I mean, I went full into the deep end, but dipping their toes into this, what do you do, and how do you help people do the same?
Yeah, AAC started out as just a mentorship program. We were originally called Animal Activism Mentorship and changed our name later on. But the mentorship program was founded, because I had other people who were like me in mind. I grew up in a small town in South Carolina, and when I went vegan, I was living in Alabama, and
sure everyone wanted to do the same thing as you. I'm sure
yeah.
Opened you with open arms. They were like, yes. I'm from North Carolina, so I get it.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, you can imagine then how it was when I went vegan. I definitely felt isolated. Yeah. I definitely felt alone. I was able to scrape up a few people to do activism with, which I'm glad about. But yeah, it was tough. So, after I kind of became more of a seasoned activist, I thought, well, there's probably a lot of people who have the same issue that I have of not having a community. They have this desire to help animals, but they have no idea how to do it. And even people who live in big cities, maybe they just don't know how to get connected with the right people. So we thought, well, what if we created this hub where people could get involved and we could help assess what kind of activism they would be good at. So when people sign up for the mentorship program, they fill out a questionnaire, and it helps us figure out, what kind of activism this person would be good at, or they tell us what kind of activism they're really passionate about. Some people just have no idea. They're like, I want to help animals. And they may not think they have a special skill that can help animals, but they actually do once we, have some conversations with them. So
right.
It's really just about growing the animal rights movement, keeping people in the animal rights movement, getting those people involved and giving them a community. And then after the mentorship program was founded, we started doing these events. So the first one was an animal rights tour through Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And then we just started doing more and more events like that. In 2021, we did our first convergence, which was in Chicago and centered around a pressure campaign to get YSL to go fur-free. And we ended up doing some secondary actions for Oscar de la Renta as well to get them to go fur-free. We just spent, I believe it was 8 or 9 days just relentlessly protesting the YSL in Chicago. We protested them multiple times every day for over a week. And, in conjunction with the other people who were putting pressure on YSL around the world, we were able to get them to go fur-free, along with Coalition to Abolish the Fur Trade, who led the campaign. And we're like, okay, maybe we're onto something. Maybe we should be doing more of these convergences and more of these pressure campaigns. So it kind of took off from there.
Well, that's a huge success. Talk to me about some of the successes that you've had that have actually led to a systemic change. Like, I can't believe that we still have to talk about fur. That seems like that was my parents' era, where we knew, when I grew up, it was like fur was faux, like was horrible. You only would, my mom had a faux fur jacket, and because it's not like we were vegan growing up, but like we knew better. So how is that still a thing? Talk to me about that and how, some of the successes that you've had.
Yeah, I wish I had some of the numbers and victories in front of me, because there have been so many victories since I became a part of the anti-fur movement back in 2021-ish. But the Coalition to Abolish the Fur Trade it was an old organization, but there's a new iteration of it that came about around 2020, around the same time AAC was coming up. And we quickly formed a partnership where, they were running the campaigns. We would organize these convergences and try to get the movement behind these campaigns. And we've been working together ever since, and still do work together now. But since then, off the top of my head, Allison Olivia was the first campaign I was a part of, a company that went fur free. And then there was Saks Fifth Avenue. There was Monique Lullier. There was Dolce & Gabbana. There was YSL, Montclair, Alexander Wang, Marc Jacobs, Celine, Canada Goose.
They all still sell fur in 2020, in the 2020 era.
they did. And recently we partnered with CAFT and got Etsy to go fur free, which is an enormous company. And I just got back from London. I was there for our 10-day London convergence, which was our first one outside of the US. And now we're getting to the point to where these convergences, just by scheduling them, some of these animal abusing companies kind of know what's going to happen. So Etsy went fur free the day before the convergence started.
Wow.
Then Aldi Nord and Aldi Sud during the convergence decided to stop cutting the eyes off of shrimps and stop letting them suffocate to death in that industry. And that was led by ICAW, International Council for Animal Welfare, who we also partner with. And then, we went into the Visa headquarters and protested inside a couple of times, protested outside, and then we ended up outside the home of one of the executives at Visa. And within 7 days, our little group of activists got a $1 billion company, one of the largest companies in the world, to break ties with Milan Fashion Week, who still allows fur on their runways.
That's really unfortunate. I can't believe that this is still a thing. In case anyone listening doesn't know, what is the fur industry? Why is it I feel like I talk about the food industry a lot, so my audience knows and understands factory farming. What is the fur industry exactly doing? Because I could see someone be like, oh, they just shave it off the sheep or something. What is it really doing?
Yeah, I would encourage anybody who doesn't know much about the fur industry to go look at some footage of factory fur farms, which is where the majority of fur comes from. But trapping is also just absolutely horrendous. I saw some footage of a fox who was caught in a trap, and it's just forever ingrained in my mind, just the animal trying to get free from this trap with no way out. It's barbaric. It's cruel. On these fur farms, animals are kept in tiny, cramped wire cages. There's feces all over the place. These places reek. And then, sometimes the animals, like minks, even are forced to cannibalize each other. They go crazy. They spin round and round in their cages day
Just
after
like
day.
the Beagles.
Basically like the Beagles, yeah. And then, they're gassed, they're bludgeoned, they're sometimes skinned alive, they're anally and vaginally electrocuted.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they go through immense suffering every day, and then even their death is horrific, all for vanity, for something that no one needs at all. It's horrible.
Fur is so out of touch and out of style. I don't even understand who is holding on for dear life to this garbage. Plus, you can make it, if you really want the look, it's easy to replicate. I just don't get it. But thank you for describing that. I don't think I've ever talked about that on Food Heals. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, and another industry that AAC has been going after is the foie gras industry. We ran a campaign against Omni Hotels that won last October, and all 50 plus of their locations are now foie gras free after a year-long campaign. And now we're focused on getting all these local restaurants to go foie gras free. I can't even remember how many victories there have been in the last few years, but it's probably up near 100 victories of all these different grassroots groups from around the world getting foie gras free policies from these restaurants. And foie gras is a horrific industry as well.
I don't understand why we put these weird foods like foie gras and like lobster on a pedestal. Like lobster is a bottom feeder. I don't understand. Someone sat back in a room, was like, let's make these cheap things that we can torture an animal and then make them expensive. Like it's not really, it doesn't mean anything. Snails, you know what I mean? Like we as a society, not you and I, because we have nothing to do with this, but society has put these things on this pedestal like they're fancy, and then people want to pretend they're rich and have all, and it's all made up. It's all made up. Why do we as a society think, oh, you have to eat some snail to be fancy or wear some fur? It makes zero sense to me. Or have like the fanciest bag made out of leather.
I think most people in general are either uninformed or apathetic. Sometimes with some of these so-called luxury items like fur or foie gras, I do think some of these people just sort of like get off on having power over another or feeling richer than someone else or just vanity. Yeah, I'm not a psychology expert or anything like that.
Yeah, no.
But yeah,
I don't need your professional opinion. Just a conversation. I'm just like, why?
It takes a special type of person, I think, to wear fur, to put it mildly.
Yeah, exactly. It's absolutely ridiculous. So, okay, Trey, I don't know about you because you have a very large Instagram account where people are constantly messaging you, adding you as collabs. My phone is blowing up with updates. I wanted to see if there's any new updates since we started. So the first update I have, which is from our Beagle Rescue group, is, I think it's what we said, a separate coalition of dog rescue groups has announced an agreement with Ridglan in exchange for an undisclosed amount of money, believed to be a small fraction of their list price, which is good because I don't think they deserve a dime for this. But anyways, Ridglan will release most of the dogs, I wonder why most, to rescue groups. The handover will start this week and finish next week. It's a massive logistical project. There are many details of the deal we do not know yet, and negotiations may continue for some of the remaining dogs. As of now, the claim that any dogs are being sold to another research company appears to be an uncorroborated error. Okay. We can expect more details tomorrow midday. There'll be a press conference at 11 a.m. Central.
Yeah, I hope we get a lot more answers from that press conference, because we are still a little bit in the dark here about what's going to, is it all of the dogs? Is it what's going to happen? If it's not all the dogs, what's going to happen to the ones that are left behind? But either way, I mean, this is a giant victory, but
yeah,
of course, my mind goes to the dogs who might be left behind. But I think everybody who was a part of this should just be so incredibly proud. And I really hope that the momentum from this amazing action keeps going, either, toward more vivisection campaigns or toward, other animal abusing industries, strategic pressure campaigns. I really hope that this is a moment in time that the animal rights movement can, for lack of a better term, capitalize on. And because trillions of animals every year are suffering. And I know, with me, like most of the people I do activism with are vegans. Like there's some who are not, but at Ridglan, it felt like, just anybody was there, which I think is great. I think the animal rights movement is going to have to be like that if we ever want to grow, if we ever, want to like really get into the conversation, and we should be more welcoming of people. And I'm glad that the Ridglan action seemed to be like that. Just everybody was welcome. And I hope a lot of those people will continue to care about animals and fight for their rights, because the animals deserve it.
Yeah, God, I keep getting chills, like from everything you're saying, from the fact that they're going to be released. I'm like still having a visceral reaction. But you're right. A lot of what happened in our Ridglan case, in the second rescue, is we were on, I know you guys were on teams as well, but we were on these teams. We would meet before, we would do Zoom calls, and we'd meet people from everywhere, all walks of life, all ages. But one thing that we found really interesting and we talked about openly was like, there were some vegans, but a lot of people were not vegan at all. Some people might have been vegetarian, but a lot of people were, and they were just there for the dogs and didn't even know anything about factory farming, which is fine. We welcome everyone. And there was people left, right, and center. So, you know, a lot of people were trying to politicize this. And our whole point was like, this is not left. This is not right. This is everybody loves dogs. We can all agree on that. And I think to your point, Trey, it is going to wake people up, because if you're offended and horrified by what is happening to the dogs, the next connection that you're going to make is hopefully the cows, the pigs, the chicken, the fish, all of it. Because, you know, pigs are as smart as a 3-year-old child. Lily, my beagle, is really, really smart, but apparently pigs are smarter than her. So if they're as smart as Lily, I'm like, oh my God, you know what I mean? So I can make that connection easily, but I think that'll help your cause. I think that'll help my cause, you know, your cause to get people activated, my cause to get people healthy and eating more plant-based foods, right? And so I think we're in a time like no other. I think this was historic. I think the last two actions, the one that you did and the one that I did or participated in, were historic. And I think the release of these beagles is going to set a precedent that every single lab has to release these beagles. It sounds like even the government is starting to be on our side, right? It sounds like they are making strides towards stopping animal abuse and animal testing.
Yeah, I hope you're right about all that. This victory for sure is monumental. I don't even have anything really to compare it to. It's sort of it's not the first open rescue, but it's definitely the first of its kind. And I've even been openly critical of open rescue as a strategy in the past. But I really think that this particular rescue, rallying around dogs, an animal that, you know, most people in the United States and really around the world love as a species, rallying around them, I thought that was a great idea.
Yeah.
And it clearly worked. So I'm really happy with the result of this open rescue. Obviously happy with just the 22 beagles who were freed. Like that alone during the first rescue is worth it. Those are 22 lives. And to them, their life is everything. That's their experience, you know, and now hopefully over 1,000 dogs or something around that number will be in loving homes and able to live out their lives in peace, because we've seen the footage of that place and what's inside, and there is no peace inside of that place. And so I'm very excited for those dogs to get out of there.
I don't think I've fully processed it yet, because every night I go to
definitely
bed
haven't.
thinking about them, you know, and then I have a beagle. So I like look into her eyes and I pet her and I try not to cry, because you could drive yourself crazy. I've seen the footage, you know. I met Scott Gilbertson, who went undercover at Ridglan Farms. I met him at the rescue. He's going to be on Food Heals. And he has shown that there's a documentary called Born on Death Row Doc that's going to come out, where they have proven not only has the law come after them for, I believe, 300 counts of criminal animal abuse, but he was there. He has the receipts. And he actually, I believe, rescued a couple of dogs. And then a couple of dogs kept getting rescued. A couple of dogs kept getting rescued. Then the one you went to, 23 beagles. That's the first time I ever heard about it. And that's what made my heart go, I have to do something. So first I started covering it on Food Heals. And then I was like, this rescue is a month away or something. I have to go. I've felt passion in my life. I've never felt so passionate. And maybe that's what some of us needed to make us more active in these movements. And what you do at Animal Activism Collective is where we can go to learn more and be mentored on how to do that. Because like you said, a lot of people, they just don't know how to be involved. The only reason I knew how to be involved in this is because I saw your videos, I saw Wayne's videos, I saw Jennifer Torkin's videos, one of the rescuers. And so I found out, hey, there's something you can do. But typically it feels like, oh, there's nothing we can do, and we sit at a distance. But now it feels like more than ever, there's something we can do. How can people learn from you besides obviously following your Instagram? That's how I really found you, connected with you, and learned about what you do. What can people do? Obviously follow, but to work with you, learn more about what you do, and to create actions with you or on their own.
Yeah, I would encourage everybody to go to animalactivismcollective.com. There you can sign up for our free mentorship program. So even if you're an experienced activist and you're thinking about a move, like how can I be more effective? Or, if you're a brand new activist, certainly we can help guide you in the right direction and get connected with the right people. We also have an incredible event coming up, the Grassroots Animal Rights Summit, which will be in Washington, D.C., and it's May 15th through the 17th. Wayne Shung, one of the organizers of the Ridglan Beagle Rescue, will actually be there speaking, along with a lot of other amazing guests. Peter Young will be there. I don't know if your viewers know about the ALF, but Peter Young was in the ALF, spent 8 years on the run, and has an incredible story. So
Can you tell us a little? Can you give us a little teaser of that story
about Peter Young?
Yeah.
I don't want to give away too much. I do have a podcast episode.
Okay. So how do we listen to your story? Yeah.
Or read his book.
Tell us how to go.
What's that?
Tell us how to go to the podcast and listen to that.
Oh, yeah. Animal Activism Collective has a podcast called the Animal Liberation Hour. So you should definitely listen to Peter's episode on that. And he has a book called Liberate, which I recommend to everyone. I think it gets people kind of in that mode that you got in, to be able to go do that rescue. At some point, you just kind of have to say, like, who else but me? I'm here, so yeah. I need to be the one to do this. And the other thing we have coming up is the Chicago Convergence in June, and you can find out about that on our Instagram as well. But to get back to something else you were saying, animal rights is like this tightrope walk, I think, of optimism and pessimism. I'm constantly optimistic because I'm in it and I see all these activists who are growing and just becoming more effective for animals and willing to take action. I see these people all the time, but it's a relatively small number of people. So I'm inspired by that, but the pessimist in me sort of says, hey, we might not ever be like a mass movement in my lifetime. We're just going to have to like get what we can get done with this solid group of people, which, I guess is good. I mean, obviously we want total animal liberation like right now, but that's just not feasible. So we have to think about how we can get there, whether that be a reduction of suffering or liberating animals completely. And the Ridglan rescue, just even though none of the dogs were rescued at the second one, just seeing the amount of people who cared about dogs and about animals come out and actually take action, actually put their bodies on the line, actually risk arrest. As we talked about, many of these people probably had never even had an introduction to activism before coming and taking this extremely bold action. And the Ridglan rescue is probably more bold than, anything I've ever done personally as an activist. I'm more the style of like chipping away at companies and getting wins. Like this Ridglan thing is different. And everything everything with the campaigns is super important as well. Like I live and die by that. But this Ridglan thing is something different, where it's shifting consciousness in a very quick way. And I just really hope that, I just didn't know. I didn't know that there were that many people out there who were willing to do something like this. I really just didn't even know that. And it's sort of opening my mind to all sorts of possibilities.
Yeah, I think it speaks to the power of social media. We can talk a lot of shit about social media and the bad that it does, but it also does so much good. It's how I found out about this. And for me, like I've been plant-based, I've been vegan for, I don't even remember, like I think maybe 12 or so years now. And you get to the point and if you're just going plant-based, please don't misunderstand this, but I feel like, oh, I've done so much. I'm saving one animal a day and I'm helping people with this podcast. And I was like, oh my God, I'm not doing enough when I saw the footage. And that activated me to get, more involved. So I think that we can't, filming this stuff, talking about it on podcasts. You have a show. I have a show. We have social media accounts. We have Instagrams and TikToks. And that's how you activate people. And people are reaching out to you, Trey. People are reaching out to me all the time, being like, how can I help? What can I do? Yes, savethedogs.io. And I hope that now we get to say, oh, another one. Okay, what's next? What are we doing next? Because like you said, there are so many more animals who still need their freedom and deserve their freedom. And I'm so excited that I believe, Trey, and again, I'm an optimist. It sounds like so are you, that we will see the end of factory farming in our lifetime. And that's probably due, I believe, to cultivated meat that they can create in a lab. But what are your thoughts on the end? Like, I would love to stop doing animal activism because we don't have to anymore. Do you think that's possible?
I think it's possible one day. I don't honestly know if it's possible in our lifetime. And I don't know if it matters so much that we even know the answer to that. I think we have to look at what is right in front of us and take action. That's why Animal Activism Collective is, when somebody signs up to do activism through the mentorship program, we help them do whatever kind of activism they want to do. But the pressure campaigns that we tend to align ourselves with are the fur industry, because that's something that we think we can end in our lifetime. The foie gras industry, because we think that's something that we can end in our lifetime. And getting chickens out of the most intense confinement that there is, because that's something that we think that we can get done in our lifetime. Animal liberation. I mean, I didn't think, like I said, that all these people would come out for this beagle rescue. I was just completely shocked by that. The whirlwind that happened after that first rescue, and how everybody was just so struck by that story and wanted to get involved. I mean, people were flying across the country to be there.
Yeah.
A story that, when I was at the first rescue, there were people there who had only known about Ridglan Farms for a couple of weeks.
That was me.
Yeah. And they were willing to just go out there. I mean, I think that's incredible. I don't know how often there will be like a giant moment like this. I think we need to, continue to get what we can out of this moment for animals. But also, I want to tell everybody, it's not always like this. I've been an activist for, several years. And I know sometimes the activism is just like alone in your office or your room, like chipping away at something. Sometimes it's the grueling 20th protest at this restaurant that sells foie gras. Sometimes it's even you start to question, am I going to win this campaign? And then you do. The power that people have is just incredible. And that's one huge positive takeaway I have from being an activist for so long. But one of the best things that I've seen that helps activists build community and keep going are these events, these convergences. So something like the Ridglan Rescue, obviously, but AAC puts on these events where, people are like sharing a house, and we're cooking food communally, and we're sort of living together, and we're protesting together day after day, and we're getting victories, and we're networking. And when you have a community, this is to anybody that feels isolated out there. I know there's a lot of people out there who feel this way, because I felt this way for a long time. But when you have a community, even if it's a community from afar, it's so helpful. And when we all come together in one city, like we're going to do in Chicago in June, to fight the fur industry, the foie gras industry, and and to try to get hens out of these cages, there's something about spending that time with people, fighting shoulder to shoulder, like-minded people. Especially, I know when I go home after a convergence like that, I'm not around a bunch of like-minded people.
Right.
You know, I
Yeah.
have to do what I can to preserve my sanity.
I
You know,
totally understand. I feel
you know what
you.
I
Yeah.
mean? But having these people, just some of the best people you will ever meet, and becoming friends with them, there's so many lifelong friends I've met at these type of convergences. So I really hope that people will come out to that summit that we're having in DC. You can go to garsummit.com, and also the Chicago Convergence, which you can find on our social media. I really hope people will come out to, if not those events, an animal rights event somewhere.
Absolutely. Well, I feel like you're now my go-to for all of the actions and things that I can do, things that I can take. So I really appreciate that. And I feel you on like, it's like the loneliness of it's like the loneliness and heaviness of knowing what you know. And sometimes, like immediately when I got back from the Beagle rescue, when people wanted to talk about anything else, I would be like, I don't understand why you would want to talk about this when there's beagles dying in cages and being tortured. Like, how could we talk about anything else? And so to have that community is so important. To have your podcast is so important. You get to talk to like-minded people when you're alone at home. Like I'm alone at home, you're alone at home, but we get to chat today. My community that I met at Ridglan Farms, we are trauma bonded for life. We have group chats. We can talk about the fact that we're going through it right now. Like until this moment, we have been depressed. We have been unable to function at our jobs. We have been unable to relate to other people because we're like, we have to get the beagles out. How can you talk about anything else? And so to have that is so important when you become a part of this type of action. So I appreciate, Trey, that you create that for people. And I really appreciate you coming on the show. And like, I can't believe the beagles are getting out. I think I'm still in shock. I can't believe it. I'm so excited.
I can't believe it either. And if you have time, I want to ask you, like, how has this experience of coming together with all these people from around the world to, try to rescue these dogs, and ultimately it looks like it's going to result in a rescue. How does it feel just to be surrounded by all those people? You mentioned like being trauma bonded, but
Yeah.
How does it feel to be like around those like-minded people who are like working for this huge goal that is just like bigger than yourself? What was that like for you? Like, have you ever had another experience like that? Or
Not like at an in-person gathering. So like, yeah, it gives me the chills because it's like when we left, we're like, we just need to all be together. Why do we live in different states? Like, why aren't we together in a hotel room planning the next thing that we're going to do together? And so it was so much community. No one cared about the things that typically keep us apart, whether it's like, I believe politics are there to divide us and define us and keep us separate and keep us unhappy. We were all there for one reason, to get the dogs out. We were all there together for one purpose. And like, I live in LA. I got lots of vegan friends. I've got a great plant-based community, and I'm so grateful for that. So I've always felt like I'm lucky to have a community here for sure. And when I've traveled all over and I created community everywhere I've gone, Nashville, North Carolina, Tulum, Florida, all these different places that I've gotten to live when I was doing my nomad thing, but nothing compared to that feeling. And now I feel I miss them. I need them. I need to talk to them every day. Thank God we're still connected on our group chats and everything. But like, yeah, it feels incredible to be a part of something. It feels incredible to like the fact that what we did between your first rescue, Trey, and me going to the second rescue, we got them out. People did that.
Yep.
We did it together. It's incredible. And we couldn't have done it without every single person. Every single person was there for a reason. Every single person had love in their hearts for these animals. And now it's only going to grow. I think this is just an example of what we can do when we all come together for a shared belief. Non-violently, we were peaceful, and I know activism can get a bad rap sometimes, but I think, the bad rap in this case went to the cops and the security.
Yeah, I think that actually was crucial. Yeah.
Yeah, they were on the wrong side of history, and history will show that. And I hope that, and I do believe that, one day we won't have to work this hard to end the torture and abuse of innocent, sweet animals who are just the best part of our lives. They are, I can't live without my Beagle Lily. I can't live without my dogs. Like, dogs are my life. Farmed animals. One day I'll have a rescue farm and they can just all live with me on a farm, either somewhere in California or North Carolina. I don't know yet, but I think I'll be a part of this for the rest of my life. I don't know what that looks like yet, but I'll follow your page to find out how to do it,
Yeah, I totally feel that. I have 4 dogs myself, and I just love them so much. And my mom has 3 dogs, and my grandparents had a dog that passed away in recent years, but
Yeah.
she was like 16, and just the whole family loved her. One of my mom's dogs is a Beagle, and those dogs, he didn't come from a lab or anything like that, but Beagles are used to hunt and things like that too. There's so many just levels of exploitation that happens to even dogs who we think should be treated well.
Right.
I think most people in this country think they should be treated well, but they're exploited to hunt. They're exploited for, horrible experiments that are unimaginable. Cats too, it's crazy. So I'm glad that a lot more attention is coming to this. And I hope that the people who shift their consciousness to thinking about, what dogs deserve, which is respect, freedom, love, all animals deserve.
They sure do. I hear your puppies barking in the background. I'll let
They're
you.
excited about the original dogs.
I know. I was like, Lily, do you know what happened? Can you believe it? She's like, huh? She's like, she was like, da-da-da-da. She's like, all right. Then I was like, let me give you a treat. Cause you're like, Mom, why are you so excited? I'm obviously getting a treat right now because I'm the best, not knowing what I was actually saying.
I'm sure your dog could pick up on the energy. Your dog knows something's up. Something great has happened.
Yeah, she was like, "Are we going?" I just got back from a walk. She's like, "Are we going back outside? Like, why are you so excited, Mom? Normally, this is when we chill. Like, you're about to do a podcast."
Mom must have just thought that was the best walk ever. She's still really excited about it.
I know. She's like, "Damn, Mom. All right." All right. Well, everything is over at Animal Activism Collective.com, and follow Trey at Animal Activism Collective. And like I said earlier, I love what you do because you post not only your actions, but everyone else's as well. And so you really are a place where you can go and find out, hey, what's going on and how can I help? So I really appreciate that, Trey. Thank you so much for coming on Food Heals today.
Thank you so much for all you do, and thanks for having me. It was an honor.
Side effects of this podcast may include increased health and vitality, thoughts of living longer, developing a more positive outlook on life. In rare cases, people have experienced a strong desire to actually start using their $39.99 a month gym membership. If you experience any of these symptoms, Snapchat your trainer immediately.